What's going on, everybody? This is Jason from JMT, and today I just wanted to talk about some flash photography. Flash photography is something that if you're a beginner, you're probably not so familiar with, don't know how to get the best shots. You know, maybe you're used to using your phone with flash and it looks terrible, or point and shoot and looks bad. And a lot of that has to do with the flash itself, right? The flash on phones and point and shoots typically are small sources of light, and they do not give you a pleasing look because they're too small and usually are direct in your face. There's a lot of videos on YouTube, so I'm probably not telling you something new, but I think perspective gives people a better understanding of the same topic, and sometimes you need to hear it in a different way. So hopefully my version of it helps you out or helps someone you know, and feel free to pass it on and share this video. So let me tell you about my experience. So I do a lot of different types of photography from a personal and professional level. On a personal level, I tend not to use a lot of flash, but when I do, I try to keep a small flash like this Godox TT350 for the Fujifilm system. So it's a smaller flash. It only uses 2 AA batteries in comparison to the full size flash, which usually would have 4 AA batteries or its own proprietary battery. So this is more like half the size, but a lot of times with flash, especially in my use case personally, I'm usually trying to get people lit up. So I'm not going to be all that far away where you need to have a high power kind of going so far away. Like, I'm not trying to get a whole room lit. I'm trying to get people lit. So you don't really need a huge flash with a lot of power for that. So that's what this comes in handy. So I get really good results with this flash. And, a lot of it has to do with the direction of the flash pointing straight up. And then this little diffuser on the top, which softens the light, kind of spreads it out, a little more evenly than it would to just be pointing straight at a person and then getting that direct, harsh, hot spots on their face and things like that. Right. So that's one thing. And then from a professional point of view, I do some food photography, freelance, and I use only flash in that situation. So when I'm using that system, I usually use a full-size flash like this, and I use a basic manual flash. So there's literally nothing fancy about this. This is a Neewer TT560, and it's a manual speed light, so it will work with any camera system basically, and you have to set the power. So whereas the other one, the TT350 by Godox, is a TTL flash. So you can use this manually, but it also has TTL, which is basically automatic for a camera. So that takes a little bit more speed out of the way, so you can kind of let it just do the work. Whereas when I'm doing food photography, I'm completely controlling the entire lighting situation, and I'm shooting at my own pace, so I can set the flash manually and just click away. So the difference, right? So when I'm using TTL, what I like to do is set my camera settings manually. So the scary part about flash for most people is understanding what settings you need to be at. So when you do flash photography, think about it in this way. You're exposing for 2 different exposures, right? You're exposing for the room as it is with no flash, and then you want to expose for the room as it is with the flash. So what that means is when I'm looking at my camera, I want to set it up so that I can see a little bit. If I put that in layman's terms, I only want to see a little bit. I want to have enough of the camera to, looking at the screen to light up the scene so that it can see just enough to focus, right? And maybe the background, right? Depending on how much background you want to see, You set it to show that, not to necessarily have the best exposure, but to show enough for the camera to focus and know how much of the background you want to see. And then the flash will be your second level of exposure to light up the subject enough to have a great exposure. Like for instance, right now, I'm sitting in a dark room and the only thing that's lighting me is this ring light right in front of me. So my phone, which I'm filming on right now, will first expose for me, right? Just to see me in the dark. And when I turn the light on, now it's going to expose for me with the light on. So that's two different, it has to do two different things before I turn the light and then after I turn the light on. So the same thing you should be thinking about when you take a photo, expose for the situation so you can see just enough of the background, and then the flash will expose for the subject. Now in a situation where I'm using TTL is taking care of that part for me. So for example, I have a shutter speed of 125. My aperture's at f4 maybe, and my ISO might be 1250. So in a dark room, I'm only getting enough just to see a little bit. My camera can focus because it sees contrasting areas, but nothing is lit up the way I want. And then with the TTL, once I click the shutter on the camera, the flash is going to take care of the rest to make sure that whatever I focused on, it gives it enough light for it to be in focus. So now my exposure is, is good, not considering any edits you want to make, right? So that's how you think of it. Now with the manual flash, everything I said about the camera stays exactly the same, except the flash part is now handled by you, right? So like for instance, on this camera, on this flash, there's a set. I'm gonna turn it on so you can see the dials. So on this flash, there's a plus and minus. So when I go to the highest one, I'm getting full power. And then as I go all the way down, I'm getting less power, the least amount of power. So you have to gauge your distance from the subject and how much flash power you have set to get the right exposure. So for example, if someone's only, I'm in the same situation with ISO 1250, my shutter is 125, I'm at f4, and I'm only 3-4 feet away from a person, I'm probably not going to be too high of flash power because I'm close enough to them that the brightness of this flash is going to illuminate them enough that I don't need that much power to reach them, right? Because at the end of the day, you want it to reach them and then the light can reflect off them and then the camera can take the photo. So you don't want to have the full power because they're going to be bright, hot white and everything's going to be blown out and you can't see anything. They're really close to you. They're only 3-4 feet away. So you only need a kiss of light. That's what I call it, the kiss of light, right? So that's all you need. Now, conversely, if you're shooting in a reception at a wedding and you're using a telephoto lens, you're at 135 millimeters and they're about 20 feet away from you, you're going to have to bump up the flash power in order to reach them, right? Because now the light itself has to travel further or bounce from a ceiling or anything that's around you that you're going to use to create the light has to go further away. So you're going to need more power to do that. If you're at the weakest setting, it's going to fall off. Think of it like a spray of water. If you got a water hose, your flash is like a light spraying water. Think about it like that. If I spray the water and I don't have enough power on my gauge, the water is going to go here and then fall before it gets them, right? So they're going to be in the darkness of your settings of your camera. Because remember, we're using 2 exposures. So that water light, right? Same thing. Is gonna shoot out and then fall right before them. You want it to have enough power in that situation to go far enough to have them have a spray of water, right? Just a spray of water and light them up. So that's how you got to think about it. So don't be afraid of flash. Try it out, play around with it. I would highly recommend learning manual flash, especially because you can save a lot of time and money and confusion by using a basic speed light for most of your needs. A lot of times you'll get a feel for it, right? It's not about just letting using TTL and just letting everything take care of itself because you don't understand it. Just know that the light is like water. The more power you need to reach someone, the more power you need to set it for. So if you understand that and know to lock down your camera settings to see enough in the scene, then you can use manual flash with any camera system anytime. Like if I use Fuji, but if I move to Olympus, or if I move to Canon or move to Sony, I can use this same flash and not have to worry about it. It's the same principles because it's a camera at the end of the day. So hopefully that helps. If you have any questions or want to learn more, leave me a comment. Hopefully you like this video, subscribe, and see you in the next one. Peace.